Hi Cherry Pies, how you doing? I recently rejoined the YouTube Pagan Facebook group and I noticed a few days ago that there was a topic that was quite hot for a while. I mean, things move pretty fast there in that group, I must say. It's difficult to keep up, but there was a topic trending for a little while there at the top of the page, and it was basically as somebody who's new to the pagan / witchy community on YouTube, just wanting to know, how do you get more subscribers, how do you grow your audience? And that's something that I can talk about, and that's something that I haven't spoken about yet on the channel. And I did notice that there were a lot of different people just talking about the fact that they also wanted to grow their audience and they wanted to get more subscribers, and there were lots of different ideas kind of in that thread about how you go about doing it. So I wanted to share some of my own experiences about growing your subscriber base, and I also wanted to talk about my experiences with a YouTube channel and potentially give you some tips if you're new to this and you've only just joined this wild ride on this gravy train with biscuit wheels. I can help you out. I'm an old timer, I'm a little bit seasoned, I've been doing it for a hot minute, so yeah, so hopefully these tips will help you. I just want to start off by saying that these tips are for people that are specifically in the pagan, witchcraft, spiritual kind of community on YouTube. Obviously there are a completely different set of rules for people who want their channel to be super mainstream, and for people who don't necessarily want to be hugely discerning about who watches their videos. For example, if you're going to do an eat foreign candy kind of trial, like, or you're going to do challenges, you're going to do, you know, you want to make it to that kind of Zoella status, then I don't think it's wise necessarily to be hugely discerning about who watches your videos. You want everybody watching your videos, right? That's kind of the point. You want to make a living off of YouTube, you want it to be your career. Then I don't think that these tips will necessarily apply to you because these tips are about being discerning about your audience, making sure that the right people are watching, bringing people to you that are going to be interested in what you're saying, because we're kind of a niche, right? We're specialists. We're not generalists, we're specialists. We're specifically talking about pagan stuff, witchy stuff, spiritual stuff, maybe self-development stuff, psycho-spiritual stuff, and that kind of crossover. So these tips are not for people who want to be career YouTubers, who want every motherfucker and their dog and their wife and their husband watching the videos. This is for people that specifically want to grow an audience of those who are interested in the topics you're going to be broaching, and those topics will be witchy, pagan, spiritual in some way or another. If you're only just starting out on the YouTube journey and you've literally only just gotten a channel, it might be a good idea to write down your intentions for the channel. What kind of channel do you want it to be? Do you want it to be a channel where you teach a certain thing, where you give people information about something that you've learned? Do you want it to be a channel where you talk about your spiritual trials and tribulations and what you've been going through? Do you want it to be so that you can make friends or learn about people's spiritualities all over the world? You know, like, what is the aim, I suppose you could say. And even if you've been doing YouTube for a little while and you've had a channel for ages, it can sometimes help to clarify what your intentions are now, because your intentions do change with any kind of creative project. As you move along, your vision for the project evolves, and when you're creating a YouTube channel, it is a creative project of one kind or another, whether it's more instructional or whether it's more social for you. It is possible that your intentions might have just changed since you started the channel, so this is also a piece of advice that's open for you more seasoned channel people as well. You know, like, it can be helpful to reassess your goals. Write your intentions down and have fun with it, you know, just enjoy yourself and think about what it is that you would want to bring to the channel and what kind of themes you might want to hit on. It might be helpful to write a little mission statement or a little manifesto for your channel, just so you have something in mind when you begin, you know. I'll let you know that when I started my YouTube journey, I primarily wanted to get involved with the YouTube tarot people. There were a lot fewer back then, but I really wanted to get involved with them. I wanted to talk to them about their ideas about the cards. I was kind of toying a little bit with opening up to different decks, so I was watching reviews and that kind of thing, and I wanted to stop lurking and start actually contributing and getting involved. I did have a business, an Etsy business, when I started YouTube, so I was always aware that even though I didn't want to market and advertise my business extremely on YouTube, I did want to be an ambassador for my business. So I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to do anything that wasn't in alignment with my business and my values as a reader, so that was always on my mind. So I started right from the very beginning of YouTube making instructional videos, thinking about things that could help the community, things that maybe the tarot community hadn't seen before. For example, my first 2 videos were about how to read kind of stereotypically negative tarot cards in a more positive and illuminating way. So I was thinking, even from the very first moment that I sat in front of a camera, of things that could be helpful to the community, things that I hadn't seen before on YouTube that I thought I might be able to bring to the discussion. So it was really about just being helpful and bringing something fresh to the table. YouTube is a lot less community friendly than it used to be, and I noticed that Charlie Says Go actually got involved with this thread on the Facebook, YouTube, pagan, Facebook, blah 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 group. And she did say, you know, it's a shame that you guys have come to YouTube in the time after video responses ended and Google took over, and it's now sort of a lot less community friendly, and I do agree with that. It used to be much easier to start a conversation, it used to be much easier to have a dialogue if that was what you were after on YouTube. However, you know, it's not impossible, it's just that you've got to try a bit harder, you've got to really get out there, and you've got to start circulating the pagan / witchy playground. You know, it's about going and meeting the like-minded and checking out different people's channels and starting conversations with them, especially if you want to bring an audience to what you do. Honest to God, if you're sitting around wondering why you don't have a bigger audience, or you're thinking about the fact that you want to grow your audience and you don't know how to do it, if you are not networking, if you are not actively going out and schmoozing with people in the community and commenting underneath their videos and having dialogues and exchanges with them, then, to be blunt, you know, in all love and all authenticity, why do you think you're entitled to an audience around your work? You know, if you're not going to be interested and actively participate in other people's work. Using the search bar, using the search functionality on YouTube can be super useful. You can use the filters to check for videos that were made, for example, about witchcraft or paganism or tarot in the last week or in the last month, that kind of thing. That can be super useful. I know a lot of people just use the filters to seek out new material, to seek out fresh blood, and I've definitely done that as well. When I felt like I haven't had anything new on my feed for a while, I wonder, you know, what's popping with people in the tarot community that I don't know. I'll just use the filters and I'll normally come up with something that I haven't seen before. Join the YouTube Pagan Facebook group if you're not already joined. I'll leave the link below down in the Shabu Faber Day. Definitely do it, get on there, and there's loads of people posting their videos from the YouTube Pagan Challenge that's going on and stuff like that. When you come across people in the community on YouTube who've obviously been doing it for a while and are obviously seasoned and obviously kind of know people and know the landscape of channels, try and check what channels they are subscribed to. If they make their channels that they're subscribed to public, then definitely have a look at them, because if you're not doing that and you're wanting to build a community around your videos and you're wanting to get to know more people, you're definitely missing a massive trick in that department. So that's a little tip off for you. Make sure you go around, have a look at the more seasoned people, and then check who are their favourite channels, who are their featured channels, which channels do they like, which channels are they into. I've got a feeling that the channels that I like are currently set to private, but I'll go through, if they are, I'll go through just before I upload this video and I'll make sure that they're public so you can have a little look who I follow and who I'm into, and go around and have a little look, explore. It's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be a discovery process for you. My feeling is that the less community oriented any platform online becomes, the more we've got to go rogue, we've got to go off the beaten track, we've got to be mavericks, we've got to start actively looking around for the hidden treasures, the gold, the gems, the diamonds in the rough, you know, and we've got to start making friends. We've got to make friends with people who only have one video and make friends with people who, like me, have closer to 300, you know, so I think it's about mixing and mingling, and it's about being a little bit inventive. It does suck that the video response functionality has gone, you know, those things are crappy for a lot of people in a lot of ways, although like all things, the video response functionality was abused to an extent. You know, people did know, for example, that if they made a video response to somebody whose channel was very, very big, they would get attention, but what they were saying might not necessarily have been genuine, and they might not have made the video for genuine reasons. So, you know, the video response functionality, as awesome as it was for people who wanted to have discussions about paganism and witchcraft, it could be abused as well, like everything else. I think to an extent it's just about being honest and wearing your heart on your sleeve and going out there and finding people that you want to hang out with and start discussions with. I would definitely recommend, and I'm going to get a little bit deep here, okay, but I'm definitely going to recommend to you that if you really want to gather an audience around what you're doing and you really, really want subscribers, and it's kind of like taking over your mentality a little bit and it's kind of sullying your response to the YouTube experience, obviously, being a spiritual counsellor and being the woman that I just am, I'm gonna urge you to examine your motives. Like, that's just the kind of advice that I would give, and so it would be kind of stupid not to give it. You know, examine your motives, decide why it is that you are so upset that more people aren't watching you. Why is it that you actually want the subscriber count to grow? Is it because you're seeking a sense of personal or spiritual validation from it? Because if so, then you're always going to come up short. You're always going to have a crappy experience. There's never going to be enough subscribers in the world. You know, it's like that George Carlin quote about being hungry and taping sandwiches to your body. If you're not feeling within, you know, that you're validated and that you are enough, then no amount of subscribers, no amount of shout outs from big channels, no amount of anything else is going to deal with that for you. You need to deal with that yourself, you know. So if you kind of know deep down that you're after the subscriber count and you're thirsty for the subscribers to go up because you feel some sense of validation from that, then you really need to check yourself before you wreck yourself, baby. Enjoy the dialogue, enjoy the discussions that you can get into. When somebody comments underneath your video, comment back and have a discussion. Go and see if they have a channel, you know. Of course, it's important to respond to comments from people who don't have channels as well, and I can definitely be guilty of needing to do that more, and I've constantly got that in my mind. Like, obviously at this point on my journey, I'm a full-time spiritual counsellor and tarot reader. There's absolutely no way that I have time to get back to every comment, and I think most people are fully aware of the landscape of my life and what I do professionally, and they know that that would be silly. However, of course, whenever I've got some free time and I don't have readings to do or anything, nothing delights me more than going and seeing what people have said in the comments and reading what people have said in the comments and getting into those discussions. And sometimes it can be very difficult when I've been on YouTube for as long as I have to remember that I need to make sure I don't differentiate between those who have a channel that I recognise by name because I know their videos, and then those who do not have a channel and have no intention of having a channel but have supported my work for a really long time. You know what I mean? So it's really important that you don't kind of see somebody with an image there with a channel name that you know and go, oh, I'll reply to them because they have a channel. And I'm totally guilty of this as well. I'm like, oh yeah, I know her, I know him, they have a channel. But actually it's really important to just spread the love equally and evenly. You know, the people that don't have channels and don't make videos, they're human too, and they want to have a discussion too, and they support your work just as much, you know, and their comments are just as meaningful and just as meaty. Talk about what you're enthusiastic about rather than what's trending. When you talk about what's trending purely for the sake of the fact that it's trending, it seems to be what a lot of other pagans or witches are talking about, that really comes through. That honestly really does come through. It's obvious that you haven't really prepared something, or it's obvious that you're not really sure about the landscape of the conversation that you're wading into, so you're kind of talking on the back foot, as I like to call it. You can tell when someone's doing that. You know, for example, if lots and lots of people are having a discussion about cultural appropriation in paganism, or lots and lots of people are having a discussion about the difference between tarot and oracle, and it's like blowing up, you can tell the difference between people who genuinely have something to say and really have thought about it, and then the people that are like, oh, I better make this video because it's what everybody's looking at and it's what everybody's looking for. You know, you can really tell the difference. There's a lack of fire there in some way or another. It's really easy to go for what's trending. Obviously, I know that's true, and I guess it can be tempting, but you know what I always think about? I think about longevity, and for me, if I spoke about things just because they were the thing that everybody was talking about, I would not have been doing this channel since 2011 or early 2012 or however long I've been doing it for now. I would not be doing it for that long. The longevity wouldn't be there. I would have given up ages ago. And that's a similar thing that I'll say with things like requests, video requests, viewer requests. You know, if you find that the people that are gathered around you say things like, for example, I would love to see your altar set up, but you don't feel comfortable showing your altar setup, obviously don't show your altar setup, babe. Don't show anything that you're not comfortable showing, and just kind of politely explain that you don't want to show that. That's a little bit of a bridge too far for you. Similarly, if people gather around your work and they say to you, oh, it would be really great if you could do a video about this or go into this, if you know in your heart of hearts that you're not really interested in that and you don't want to do a video on that, don't do a video on that, honestly, really. What I do with requests at this point is I take them under advisement. You know, so I write them down in a book, or I respond to the comment and say, hey, I've written this down, I'll definitely consider it, or I'll think about it, or thanks for the suggestion. But I will not do anything for the channel that I'm not interested in and that doesn't light me up. Because honestly, if I did that, then I would have stopped making videos ages ago, because it would not interest me. You know, I wouldn't be able to keep occupied with it. So as much as it might seem mean that I'm not carrying out every single person's request, at the same time I need to do what's right for the longevity of the channel, and I would have given up ages ago if I felt that I was just kind of, you know, a cart horse, or as a worker bee that was just doing videos that other people needed or wanted or requested. Okay, let's talk about organic engagement. Some people do message me, email me and ask me, you know, how did you get the subscriber count that you've got? Did you pay for it? Are you with a network? Like, what is the secret? What is the dealio? I really want what you've got, kind of thing. First of all, just putting this out there, it's probably better not to focus so much on subscriber milestones. For me, like, I don't make a video every time I've hit like 11,000, 12,000, 13,000, 14,000. I don't bother, because for me, I'm much more interested in the people that are watching my videos, the amount of people that are watching and the amount of discussions that I'm getting going. And you know, only a fraction of the people that are subscribed to my channel actually watch, and that's common across the whole of YouTube. It's common for people to have many, many thousand more subscribers than they actually get views, because a lot of people are very passive subscribers. You know, they subscribe to lots of things, they go through and they might subscribe to every single person who's talking about something that takes their interest, but that doesn't mean that they're actively engaged. They're not necessarily active subscribers. So for me, the number is great and I really appreciate, you know, the milestones and stuff. It's lovely, but it's not really where my focus is. It's not really what I'm hugely interested in. I'm much more excited to see that my general amount of views that I've got has gone up from 1,000 to 1,500, or has gone from 1,500 to 2,000. Like, that's exciting to me when I see that people are engaged and people are showing up and really getting involved. So for me, that's more a sign of the amount of engagement I've gotten and the amount of audience growth that I've gotten. I know the number can be a stroke to the ego for a lot of people, and a lot of people do obsess over the number, but I'm much more interested in the engagement and the actual views that I can see happening. I don't get anywhere near 14,000 views, you know, on the average video, so that's not really what I'm interested in. I'm much more interested in people watching. All of my growth has been completely organic. I have not gone onto forums and said, hey, watch my channel. I don't even say subscribe, like and share this video at the end of every video. I'm not connected to a network. I do not have a contract with a network. I've been approached many times by different networks at this point, because when you start to get like a few thousand subscribers, networks do start to get in touch with you and they tell you what they can offer, and they tell you that, you know, if you sign a contract, they will give you good facilities for making better videos. They'll give you tips and tricks tutorials to help you get more subscribers, and they will bring more traffic to your channel. They will bring more engagement to your channel. Now, I always turn down these contracts, and that's not to say that I think it's wrong to go with one of these networks, because I don't. But for me personally, I don't see how they can drive traffic to my channel that is completely organic. And that is what I want. I want every single person that clicks subscribe to my channel to be clicking subscribe because they want to, and not because they have been somehow cajoled or somehow directed there, you know, by a machine of any kind, if you will, by a system, by a process that has somehow herded them towards my channel. I don't want that. I've never wanted that. I'm really just interested in people subscribing if they want to watch and unsubscribing if they're no longer interested. And I feel that that is how I've gotten the greatest sense of fulfillment from my channel, is through having organic traffic, organic engagement. When you look at things like Facebook pages and Instagram pages that have thousands and thousands and thousands of subs, like thousands of people following, but the engagement is very, very, very low, then you know that something has gone on there, that they have managed to gain an amazing amount of followers or subscribers through doing something that has promoted traffic that is not organic. It's not completely organic. So for example, if you look at Instagram pages that have like 35,000 followers, you know, it's like 35k on an Instagram page, but when you look at their average picture, they've only got 1 or 2 comments or 3 or 4 comments. You know that what they've probably done is they've probably done a lot of collabs with Instagram challenges or giveaways, and they've gotten a lot of people to join very, very quickly in order to potentially gain something like a gift or a prize of some kind, so that they can get that count up, you know. But that count, that number on the Instagram account, that doesn't mean anything. Sometimes it can be really confusing for people who don't know the dealio. Like, they don't really understand, how is it that somebody's got 35,000 subscribers but hardly any engagement? You know, people tweak, but they don't really understand it. Or like on Facebook, you know, there's certain things that you can do to get traffic to your Facebook page and to get more and more people to like you. But when you look at the engagement, it's like nil. Somebody could have 10,000 subscribers, like 10,000 likes, and no engagement. So you know really quite quickly the difference between somebody who has gone out there and tried to get traffic to come in some kind of calculated move towards their page, and then those people who have organic traffic. All of the engagement is organic. You can tell that by the comments and the likes and the shares that they get on their stuff. You can tell that the people that are there because they want to be there, not because you've paid for them to be there, not because there's some sort of system that's driving them towards your page. So you can really tell the difference, and I really genuinely feel like my subscriber count could be through the fucking roof on YouTube, but if I wasn't getting any comments, if I wasn't getting any feedback, if I wasn't having any interesting discussions with people or reading really interesting comments underneath my videos, the number would mean nothing to me. It would be unfulfilling. It would be a little bit of a McDonald's, do you know what I mean? And what I'm after is the roast dinner. I'm after that engagement. I'm after those genuine connections. I'm after that feeling that I've helped somebody with my resources. That's one of the main reasons that I do what I do and that I love what I do on YouTube. It's because I love helping people. I love putting something out there that people need, that people have been looking for, that has explained something in a new way or just given somebody that little light bulb moment. And I love the fact that it's totally free. I love the fact that I can just do that and potentially teach somebody something that they really just couldn't get before. And when I did my tarot training course, that was amazing for me, the 10-part video series that I did, because so many people wrote to me saying, God, I've tried to understand this so many times from different books, but there's something about the way that you said it, and that to me is all the payment that I need. I don't care about the number. When you care about the number, you're honestly caring about something that no matter how big it gets is not going to satisfy you. Genuinely, it's really not. I really feel that way. A lot of people think that it takes money to get the bigger subscriber count that some witchy and pagan channels have got, or a lot of people think that it takes know-how, like there's some sort of trick that people are missing, do you know what I mean? But actually a lot of the time it takes patience. I'm going to tell you something now that I normally only tell my business mentoring clients, so this is kind of a tip. This is a little freebie for you today that I normally really only share with people that I'm mentoring in business. Before I had my spiritual business and before I had my tarot blog, before I was a voice in the spiritual community, I had a style blog. It was a personal style blog that was focused primarily on vintage and upcycled and eco fashion, and there were pictures of me in my outfits on it, but I also used to blog about ethical brands and stuff like that. Now I did that, I had that fashion blog for about 4 years. It doesn't exist anymore, but in those 4 years I worked diligently on my blog, and I wrote on my blog like 3 to 4 times a week, and my idea was that I really wanted to get it to the point where I would be paid to write about ethical fashion brands. I would be paid to write about the fashion industry. You know, I wanted to be kind of like the Susie Bubble of the upcycling and eco fashion world, if you will. And that was my whole idea. That was what I wanted to do. I was like, yes, I'm going to make this blog get a lot of momentum, and I'm going to really like drive it forward, and I'm going to be invited to write about things, and I'm going to be sent things by ethical designers. Now, it got to the point, that blog, where the passion and the dedication I put into it over time got to an extent where I was being sent dresses by designers, by ethical designers, and I was being sent like ethically made jewellery, and you know, I was having dialogues with brands that were involved with Fashion Week that were making things ethically, and it was amazing. At the point that I was really gaining quite a bit of momentum, I decided that for some reason or another, I kind of worked out in my head, this is not where I want to go. It's great, and I'm really glad that I've built it up to this extent, but you know what, it's not for me. It's not really where my heart is, and I stopped. In fashion blogging, in style blogging, in that particular world, networking is everything. If you want your blog to get anywhere in the insanely overpacked, oversaturated world of style blogs and fashion blogs, and God, it's only gotten worse since I left the scene, you know, but even when I was there, it was it was just so many different blogs. If you wanted your blog to get anywhere, if you wanted to get any traffic, if you wanted people to have a look at what you were doing, you had to network your fucking behind off. You know, every single comment that you received, you'd have to get back to. You'd have to go out and search tons and tons and tons of different blogs that were writing about the same kind of thing you were writing about. You'd have to get the big blogs, the small blogs, everybody. You'd have to comment. You'd comment yourself senseless. One of the things that I learned during my time style blogging and getting momentum, like getting people to naturally come to my blog because I'd commented on their blog, one of the things I learned was that the comments have got to be genuine. It's really, really shitty to just spam other people and say, great video, come and check out my channel, and then link your channel. Like, I can't stand that. And in fashion blogging and style blogging, there was a lot of that. It was crappy. You know, a lot of the comments underneath my blog would be like, hey, great blog, check out mine. And there would be no sense whatsoever that the person had actually read my blog post. So when somebody wrote, I really love what you had to say here, da 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 da, this was interesting, then those were the people that I would click on their blog and I would go back and comment towards them, because those are the people that stand out. Those people that give you those considered comments that show that they've read your blog post, those are the people that stand out. And those are the kinds of comments that I used to leave underneath other people's blog posts. I used to leave considered comments like, I really like what you've done here, or I agree with what you said about this, you know, or this is a great colour combination, I really enjoy it, it's very on trend right now, whatever. Something considered that showed that I had not just swept through on my publicity horse, like, hey, come and check out my blog, come and check out my blog. That's obnoxious, it's unpleasant, it's unfriendly, and it's antisocial. Make sure that when you're perusing different channels and you're trying to gather an audience around what you're doing, that you actually take the time to watch the videos that you're commenting on, and make sure that you understand that if you want an engaged audience around what you're doing, you've got to make like a style blogger, you've got to make an effort, you've got to get involved in the community, you've got to keep going and keep going and keep plugging away. I knew that I wanted my message and I wanted the things I was talking about on YouTube to reach a decent audience. I knew that there were people out there that I could help, particularly with my tarot videos and then later on with my videos about self-love. And so I took what I learned from my time as a style blogger and I implemented it. I went around and I networked, I schmoozed, I circled, I interacted, I got into dialogues with people, I supported their work. And that's really what you need to do if you want a genuine audience and an engaged audience around what you do. I enjoy the fact that it takes time to build an audience around a channel or a business or anything like that. I'm glad that people can't just make it overnight. I'm glad that people have to have a bit of a trial by fire. The reason I'm glad about it is that some people do not have completely pure intentions when they open up a business or when they go online and start presenting themselves in a certain way. Some people just do not have pure intentions. They're doing it mostly for egoic reasons, you know. That's not to say that that's the majority of people, but that does happen. Some people are not going to be in it for the long term. Some people think they really want a YouTube channel, or they think they really want to be a counsellor or a teacher, or they think that they really want a business, but it's a flash in the pan, you know, and they end up not going ahead with it or not really enjoying it, or they go on to something else. This is the reason it's so important that organic growth and meaningful engagement takes time. I'm glad it takes time. It should take time, because if you're one of those people who wants an overnight success with your YouTube channel and you get frustrated because you can't get that overnight engagement and you can't get that overnight success, you're going to give it up and you're going to move on to something else because you were never really in it for the right reasons in the first place. So it's a little bit of a bullshit filter. It's a trial by fire, and it means that the people that do have success or do end up being able to start a business or start a movement on YouTube or whatever it is are the people that generally deserve to be able to do that, because they've put the time in, they've put the effort in, they've been consistent, and they've been genuine. I always say to people who want to be a teacher or a counsellor or a mentor, or they want to start a movement around their YouTube channel, or they want to, you know, whatever it is that they want to do, I always say to them, it's not supposed to happen overnight. It would be a really fucked up world if people got their success and their engagement and their audience growth overnight, wouldn't it? You know, you're supposed to gently and gradually and steadily grow people's trust in you through being consistent with what you do, through showing that you really do care and you're not just here for the subscribers or the money or the recognition, you know. YouTube has definitely, without a doubt, helped my business to thrive, but that is not why I got into it, and that's not why I started doing videos. My business was already kind of ambling along as a little comfortable side gig, a little part-time thing, for quite a while before I started my YouTube channel, and I didn't come to YouTube thinking that it was going to be a way to help my business to bloom, you know. And that's why I don't say things like subscribe and like and share and check out my business. That's why I don't say those things at the end of every video. I may sometimes market some of my products and services because a lot of the people who watch my channel are interested in them, but it was never my desire. It was never something that I was super interested in doing. I really believe that if you're only running a YouTube channel to get people to pay attention to your business and invest money into you, then that's going to come through and people are going to feel that. With the amount of videos that I've made, if somebody was considering doing some counselling with me or considering buying a reading from me, they can look at my channel and they can see that I have put out consistent and considered content for a very, very long time. And if they look at my blog, they'll also be able to see that I've done the same thing over there. So it does build confidence in you. If somebody can see that you've been doing this for a minute and you're clearly coming to it every day and you're coming to it with authenticity and you're coming to it with love, then that definitely does instill confidence. Think about it. If you've made 2 videos and you want to have loads and loads of subs around what you're doing and you want loads of support and you want loads of engagement, then it's kind of weird, isn't it? It doesn't make sense almost, you know. You've got to put the time in and you've got to network and you've got to get to know who people are and you've got to show that you're interested in what they're doing and also that you are consistently interested in what you're doing. It takes patience, basically. Organic growth and organic engagement takes patience. There's tons of videos out there to explain to you how to get growth that is not organic and to how to get your numbers up and stuff like that, but that's not going to satisfy you. It's not going to feed you at all. Define what success means to you. Success is different for everybody. There's a lot of different ways that people could define success, so it's important for you to know what you're getting at and what you're driving towards. I've told you what I feel about numbers and focusing on numbers as opposed to focusing on engagement, but it will really be up to you whether or not you want to take my advice. And if you still are kind of driving for those numbers and you're focusing more on the numbers than anything else, then that's totally up to you. There's nothing that I can really do to take you out of that mindset. I can only be honest about what's worked for me and what's inspiring for me. Use the tags. Make sure you tag the shit out of your videos. Make sure that you put relevant words in your tags, you know. Use the title to give a title that is striking, that explains what your video is about. These things help people to find you. You know, if you're not tagging your video with anything, if you're not putting any labels on it, then people who are using the filter, people who are using the search functionality at the top of YouTube, they're not going to be able to find you, you know. And there are lots of people using that search bar to try and find people, so make sure that you tag your videos. That's kind of like putting a light on in the dark and allowing people to come and see you. When you start a YouTube channel and you get involved in the pagan or witchy community, it's really important that you understand that it is very much like real life, in the sense that there are going to be people in the community that you don't rub along with, there are going to be people that you don't gel with, and there are going to be people that you very much connect with and that you seem to have a rapport with. You are not obligated to immediately get into a very, very firm friendship with somebody just because they approach you and just because they express a liking for you. If your intuition says no, or you like to hang back, or you're the kind of person that kind of likes to see what's up before you wade in and get best friends forever tattoos with somebody, then that's absolutely fine. Conduct yourself online the way you would conduct yourself in life. Please, please do that. Not enough people do that, and I think it's really important. I think any community would thrive much more if we did conduct ourselves online the same way we tend to conduct ourselves in life, because even though not everybody is going to get along, and even though there are of course going to be people that you vibe with more than other people, I do think that a lot of problems in any community online are caused by people having a completely different conduct and a completely different code of ethics for themselves, or in some cases just a complete fucking lack of a code of ethics for themselves as they do in life, you know. And I think that's where things can become really problematic, and I also think it's where people start to be misunderstood. If you are behaving in a completely different way online than you do in life, then you can't be upset and complain about people misunderstanding you, or about people making a judgment of you that you think is completely unfair, because actually you haven't represented yourself honestly, you know, and you've been behaving in a different way online because you feel like the rules are different, or because you feel like you can, or because you feel like you can get away with it, and these are where a lot of the problems in the community come from. You're entitled to just stick to yourself, you know. I'm a little bit of a lone wolf. I do have certain people that I really enjoy online, and certain people that I would definitely say I have friendships with now, you know, and I really value, but those people are quite few and far between. I do like to stick to myself. I am a bit of a lone wolf. It's just who I am, it's who I've always been, and it doesn't mean that I won't reach out to people in the community or support people's work. I'm just not the kind of person that's instantly going to become like bosom buddies with somebody. It's just not who I am. It's not what I've ever been or who I've ever been. You're entitled to be who you are in life on the internet. If you show up in the YouTube community and you clearly have a lot to say about something, or a lot to teach on a certain subject, or you really give of yourself, then it is likely that some people are going to probably ask you for more than you are prepared to give, and it's up to you to recognise that you need to set that boundary. You know, if you answer every single request that is made of you, and answer every single piece of advice that is asked of you, and absolutely run around after every single person who comes to you and asks you for anything, then you're setting a precedent that you are okay to do that. And then later on, when you become resentful or you feel burned out or exhausted, you've kind of got to take some level of accountability for the fact that you you set a precedent, you know. Don't be one of those people that apologises for not getting back to every single person's email if you are getting to the point where you're getting like 100 emails a week or whatever. Know your limit, know your boundary, and you can firmly but politely set your boundary, okay? It's not okay for people to feel entitled to expect more of your time and more of your energy than you can possibly give just because you've put yourself on a public platform. But you need to set that precedent. You can't blame other people for overstepping your boundaries time and time again if you don't set your boundary. Finally, I do sometimes see advice bandied about here, there and everywhere on the internet, and I have seen it in the YouTube pagan community from time to time, and the advice goes a little bit something like this. Try and get friendly with those people that have a bigger subscriber count. Try and get in with the bigger YouTubers. Try and be nice to the bigger YouTubers, or send them a gift, or say something nice about them so maybe they'll mention you on their channel. Don't do this. Please don't do this. It's tedious and it's obvious and it's thirsty, okay? Just don't do it. People with a bigger subscriber count who have built their audience over time and who are popular or who get a lot of engagement, they are not just vehicles for you to get a step up. They are human beings, and they are aware most of the time of when they're being used, and they are aware of when things are not genuine and when things don't feel quite right. You may get a shout out from them on the channel. You may, you know, get them to say something nice about you because you purchased something for them, or you gave them a nice review, or you said hey, or you did a very calculated video response to one of their videos. But I tell you what, that happiness that you'll get from them mentioning you and you maybe getting a few new subs, it's just hollow. It's hollow. You're not going to get a true friendship out of it. And please let your YouTube experience be about true friendship, true connection, you know, true meaningful engagement with people, and not just thinking of them as a step up because they have quite a big kind of subscriber count and you could get something out of it. So I didn't want to end on too much of a sour note, but I felt like that needed to be said. I hope these tips have been helpful, and I hope this encouragement has been helpful. Above all, have fun with it. It's a creative project, and treat it as such, you know, and just give your heart to it and make sure that it's okay. Make sure that it's enjoyable for you before you focus on whether or not it's enjoyable for anyone else, because if you're just focusing on getting other people happy with what you're doing, that's going to show, and you're not going to be happy with what you're doing, and then you're not going to keep it up, you know. So yeah, consistency and longevity depends on you being happy before anybody else. Much love, darlings. Blessed be.